I made all 53 recipes from the shoujo classic Kitchen Princess. I can't believe I can say that. 2 months ago, I set out on a quest suggested by my viewers to read Kitchen Princess, a romance manga about an orphaned girl named Najika and her quest to make the world's best dessert for the mysterious boy who saved her life when she was younger. What I didn't account for was the urge I'd have, me, an amateur, a girl who likes magical girl media, shoujo, and just happens to like baking occasionally, to make every recipe in this story. And so I've spent most of my summer cooking and baking everything from this manga, step by step, documenting the process. 2 months of blood, sweat, and tears of frustration have led to this moment. This is all of Kitchen Princess's recipes ranked. It's not easy to tell you what the best recipe of this manga is when taste is something that's so subjective. And comparing them is hard work, but I think using an S to F scale will help. Savoring the flavor for the best of the best foods. I could eat this every day. For the recipes that I genuinely can see myself adding into my weekly rotation, I enjoyed. Meaning they were good. Pretty decent. These foods were a one-time thing I probably won't be revisiting. Not worth the effort. I regret using my own resources to make these dishes. And lastly, my taste buds are sad. And those of you who have been watching since the start of this 3-part series on my channel will know that there are some contenders for this category. Not every meal was created equally. But before we get into things, I want to take the time to thank this video's sponsor, HelloFresh. You guys, it may not seem like it, but making 3 desserts a day actually doesn't mean that you have time to think about dinner. In fact, it almost seems like I barely have time to do anything. Between working 2 jobs and everything in between, the last thing I want to do is stand in the meat aisle of a grocery store wondering what I want to throw together. So I was so thrilled when HelloFresh reached out. And this is not my first time using HelloFresh. HelloFresh is America's #1 choice for home cooking, and they just doubled the size of their menu to offer over 100 recipes each week. They have 2 times more healthy recipes, over 15 high-protein recipes every week if you're trying to get your gains up. And the best part is they deliver meals right to your door. I made the smoky barbecue chicken quesadillas, and let me tell you, probably the tastiest quesadillas I've ever had, and by far the best ones I've ever made. Even their plant-based meals are as delicious and filling as ever. Everything is pre-portioned, and only getting the ingredients you need means you're cutting down on food waste by 25%. And with super easy instructions, you're making a professional grade meal in as little as 15 to 20 minutes. If you're short on time, I highly recommend trying HelloFresh. And right now, you can take advantage of the new HelloFresh by using my code DoraEmaniFM at HelloFresh.com or by scanning the QR code on the screen to get 10 free meals plus free breakfast for life. That's 1 free meal per box with active subscription. Free meals are applied as a discount on your first box for new or returning subscribers only. Varies by plan. That's code DoraEmaniFM at HelloFresh.com for 10 free meals plus free breakfast for life. The Flan in a Cup from Chapter 1. The first recipe that appears in the manga. It is a huge hallmark in the story and is a delicious nightmare. Okay, it's actually not that bad to make, but through this entire process, I came to learn that I actually hate making caramel. I hate it with a passion. Yes, my hatred has grown since part 2, and you'll see why later. But for being such a staple dessert and one that holds such great meaning for Najika, it's a dessert that she associates with life and love, never giving up. I do think Flan in a Cup is deserving of a spot in the I enjoyed. That caramel man. I hate it. I hope I never have to make it again. Akane's Taramasalata. We're going to a complete switch by talking about the Taramasalata from chapter 2. Oh my goodness, it was so bad. Well, actually the recipe called for cod roe. I learned this from someone who commented on the video. I used salmon roe. It was just all that I could find. The taste would have remained the same is what I'm understanding. I don't like that taste. I think it was the first savory dish that I made in the entire story, and I was like really looking forward to it. I think that if I have a good Taramasalata made properly, I might have a different opinion. But for now, the one that I made is gonna be an F. At least from the recipe that I followed and the texture and oh gosh, okay. My taste buds are sad. The rainbow jelly that connects Sora and Daichi. I liked how this came out. I was proud of the colors and how it looked very natural. The taste was very mild and I don't know why that happened. The juices were so poignant, each of them individually on their own, but then when I mixed them with the gelatin, it lost all of that. I've said this before, I don't really like Jell-O anyway, so I knew that it wasn't gonna be a strong winner in any regard, but I was still like, And it was a lot of effort, like an entire day of just boiling juice and then pouring it and then putting it in the refrigerator and then waiting an hour and then boiling juice and then putting it in the refrigerator. Like, it was so involved. I will put it in C. It was okay. It wasn't bad enough for me to regret putting effort in. I'm just not a Jell-O person anyway. The Christmas cookies Najka makes for the students. The Christmas cookies. That was the first instance where I realized, okay, there's something wrong here. Like, not all of these recipes were made equally. And when I say that, I mean the translation. This manga is originally written in Japanese, but the measurements and how you typically cook things in countries outside of the US, you would use weight measurements. I find this to be much easier and much more accurate. The manga translated these Japanese recipes. Most of everything was in cups and in tablespoons and in teaspoons. So not everything was a perfect 2-scale recipe, and the Christmas cookies were something that really suffered because of that. They were so melty and sticky and were not cooperating. That was my first nightmare of this entire process. At the end of the day, they did taste very good. They were some pretty decent cookies. So I will say that the Christmas cookies were something that I enjoyed. The onion gratin soup Najika makes for Daichi. The onion gratin soup. Oh wow, I have been missing this taste. I went vegan in 2015 and then I started incorporating meat into my diet again last year, 2024. And this was my first French onion soup back in the game. And oh my gosh. I made it 2 times, savoring the flavor forever. It's an S. It's an S. Some of the best recipes were ones that had very few ingredients going on. The chocolate macaroons Najika, Sora, and Daichi share. The chocolate macaroons, they were very good. They were very tasty. I don't have anything negative or anything bad to say about the chocolate macaroons. I actually really highly recommend people try making these because it reminded me of playing in kinetic sand and was just fun and tasty. So I give them an A because I could eat them every day. The strawberry shortcake from the baking competition. The strawberry shortcake was cute. I was really happy with how it came out. It looked very pretty, but I think that it was a lot of effort to get the stiff peaks that it asked for in the recipe, and that's not something that I enjoy doing. I just think it looks pretty. Anytime that there's strawberries involved, I'm like, wow, that's a really pretty dessert. I did enjoy it. It was a B. The cake of rice Daichi shares with Akane. This is something that is also probably going to get a B just because of how much effort it took to put together. I think that it's such a smart dish. It's definitely something that's I'll present this to someone else. I'll have this at a party with hors d'oeuvres or something. It's not an everyday, I'm gonna make this cake of rice every single day because it's just there's just a lot of effort that goes into but it's nice to do when it's a special occasion, and that's what I see the cake of rice as being. Something to be served and presented to someone else, but it was really good. The yogurt mousse Najika wants Akane to eat. I remember the yogurt mousse. It was very light and enjoyable. After a long day of cooking and maybe having some failures, I did enjoy eating the yogurt mousse. Air breezing through the window, birds chirping, cherry on top. Why haven't I made this since? I actually need to make this again. It was really good. Yogurt mousse is getting an S. I am savoring that flavor. Akane's grandmother's peach pie. The peach pie, I have like no notes. This was one of those recipes where it had so few ingredients and it just tasted so good. Part of it might have been because of the dough that I chose. It was like Pillsbury pie crust, you know, like that's what the recipe calls for, to just get store-bought pie crust. But it was so good. It was so buttery and a little bit flaky. It was just really tasty, and I think that it complemented anything that went with it in regards to the recipes that I used it for, both of them, because I still think about it. I think it deserves its savoring the flavor an S. It was really good. Rainbow soda, magic iced coffee, and a yogurt drink from a bonus story. Oh, this is another thing that comes with doing recipes from a translated into English manga. It just says cider. What I've learned now after the fact, thanks to some commenters on the video, is that cider in Japan is referring to Sprite. Just clear lemon lime. That is what I was supposed to use. Instead, I bought this like special apple cider. It was like the color of what apple juice looks like, what apple cider looks like, that tannish gold color. It makes so much more sense that the rainbow soda would have used Sprite, because that's what I complained about. I was like, why is this not... It's whatever. However, it was still good. I still liked it. The magic iced coffee was nothing really special because it just depended on what brand of coffee you use. I do like the taste of coffee, but I just don't like drinking coffee with caffeine in it. And the yogurt drink, I actually made, again, like I made it maybe the next day or the day after I filmed that. I don't know why I like it. It's so weird. It's just milk, yogurt, and a little bit of lemon juice. And it sounds like it would be so gross, but for some reason it was like very comforting. I can't explain it. I have no excuse. Like, but in any case, the rainbow soda, I'm gonna say that I enjoyed it, so it's B. The magic iced coffee was okay. That one was a C. And the yogurt drink is a B because I enjoyed it. Altogether, I would say that the drinks from that bonus story was a B. The polka-dot pancakes Najka makes for Sora. Where some recipes had not a lot of flour, there were others that had too much flour, and this was one that had too much because the pancakes were like really thick, and I think that was the point, to make them, you know, like voluptuous and puffy, because you want that like puffy pancake look, but it just made for a really dense pancake, and I wasn't too big of a fan of it. Like, that's not how I like my pancakes. That's not how I like my pancakes. So I will say it was like, it wasn't terrible, but it was just thick, man. It was thick. The rolled sandwich Najka makes for the students. This was enjoyable because I got to eat outside, replicating that scene in the manga where Najka is making these sandwiches for all of the customers for the Fujita diner that is at risk of being closed down because of some, what would you call them? Jealous classmates? I don't know. They were just on her case all the time. Like, Najka didn't deserve any of it. The banana and peanut butter one you can't go wrong with, but the cottage cheese, the kiwi, and I think cherries, it was okay. The cottage cheese didn't really taste like anything to me, so I was just very confused by the experience. But it was an enjoyable moment, so I do want to say that it was like a B. And again, you can't go wrong with peanut butter and banana. However, it was like leaning on so it's somewhere between the B and the C. The banana cream puff and rose ginger ale made for Hajio sensei. I'll never forget the rose ginger ale. So good, so good, so good. At this point, they visit Hokkaido. Hajio sensei isn't doing well. Najika goes to check on the other kids at the lavender house. Very sweet couple of chapters. The rose ginger ale, I still think about it. I was really sad when I had to get rid of the rest of the syrup just because it was so much. It just didn't make sense for me to continue buying club soda just for this. It only keeps for 2 weeks, but I loved like having my own private ginger ale. What a concept. The banana cream puffs were just like, okay. The real star was the rose ginger ale. So I will give the rose ginger ale an A because I could have it every day. And the cream puffs, banana cream puffs, I'll give a C. They were okay. The carrot cake made by the kids at the lavender house. This one was very dense. Another one of those recipes where I feel like there was just a lot of flour, but like it wasn't sweet, and definitely not like the carrot cakes that I'm used to having with the whole 9 yards of like the cream cheese frosting. You know what we're talking about here. Easter, very moist and such. This was like a very dense, not dry, but just firm. I wasn't in love with it. I actually kind of like hated that I had to keep eating copying it because I didn't want it to go to waste, but this will have to be the first entry into D. I didn't enjoy it, but it's not worth putting in like F. It wasn't like my taste buds were sad. It was just like, gotta eat that carrot cake again. The Mont Blanc Najika makes for Sora. The Mont Blanc, these cupcakes, I shortcutted so hard for this because the recipe inside of the book tells you to just use like an already made cupcake. Like, where am I supposed to find that where I'm not literally chopping off already made icing? You know what I mean? Like from a store-bought container. That just felt like, why would I do that? So I did the easy thing, bought like a $1 box of cake mix and made my own cupcakes. And I just feel like, don't get me wrong, it was so good. Like the batter was so good, but I just feel like it cheapened maybe the experience of what the Mont Blanc is supposed to taste like. Also, the icing for the chestnut cream didn't come out very stringy as it's supposed to be. I didn't blend the chestnuts very well. I still liked it. It was just okay. Like, I think it's something that I would eat again if it was presented to me, but I won't go through the trouble of making it. Like, it was just a lot. So I will put that one in C. The new Omurice Najika makes for the Fujita diner. Omurice! I remember a lot of work going into this one and feeling a little bit stressed because of it, but I'll never forget that I forgot. But really, I didn't put green peas into it. Like, it could have looked so much prettier with the green peas, like just the color, the contrast of it all, but I forgot the green peas. And I like green peas too. But anyway, what I didn't show is that I actually made both versions that are presented on that recipe page. There's like, make like a bento box version, and then you can make an omelet over a bed of rice version. I made the bed of rice the next morning for breakfast, to say the least. It was still enjoyable, but it was a lot that I went through. I just remember being stressed, and I think the evidence of that is me forgetting the green peas. I probably wouldn't make it again. I probably wouldn't go through that much trouble. Like, maybe I'd make a different kind of version. So I will put it in even though it was good, I still enjoyed how it tasted. The apple cake Najika shares with Daichi after a fight. The apple cake. This was a very simple recipe. What I was like confused by is that the apples, you just place them on top. That's what makes it an apple cake. Nothing else about this is an apple cake except for the 4 slices of apples that you put at the top. Regardless, still good. I did enjoy the plain old apple cake, and so I will say it was a B. I enjoyed it. The cocoa scones Najika and Akane share after a fight. This one's a little bit funky because the taste was so mild, like kind of bland on their own. I've had scones before, but this was a different type of consistency than I'm used to. Like, just the look of them and how cookie-like they were, I was just expecting something different. So I probably wouldn't make this specific recipe again. It was an interesting experience, but it was a one-time thing. So I'll put it in D. Probably a little more effort than I'm wanting to do in the future. The fruit agar Najika makes thinking of Akane. The fruit agar, oh gosh. I actually came across the correct agar powder that I probably could have used instead of what I did use like 2 weeks after I'd made this. So there's that. It was so weird. It was such an interesting taste and texture. I think I did like the milk agar better than the caramel agar. And now that I think about it, that was just like another encounter with caramel that was just bad. But I think the thing that I have to note that I never talked about again is that it actually kind of made my stomach hurt. My stomach would like feel odd and off and a little bit unwell after I'd eat it. And I know that it's a low calorie food. You're not really supposed to have so much of it in large quantities is what I read on the internet, at least. Because of that, I wasn't really going after it again. And so unfortunately, I kind of had to bin the rest of it. I'd probably have it again if it were given to me. I would not make it again. So unfortunately, this is like, I'm gonna D. The tiramisu from a bonus story. The tiramisu. I've had a lot of time to think about this one, especially with comments that people wrote to me on that part 1 video saying that it was such an odd tiramisu recipe. Me having never made tiramisu before, I ended up Googling really what tiramisu was supposed to look like. The lady fingers are the cake. I was like, oh, that was a weird recipe. Not to mention the fact that it literally had like 1 teaspoon of sugar and was like eating cream cheese straight out of the block. Like, it was so so weird. I don't know. If I'm gonna make tiramisu again, it has to be another recipe. Like, I would not revisit this one for any reason. And I think that makes this entry the first F. My taste buds were very sad, especially with that cream cheese. What the heck? Like, that was crazy. Like, it was so crazy. Actually, it wasn't our first F. I'm sorry. I forgot about the Taramasalata. How could I, right? At this point, I'd moved on to part 2. A new set of volumes, a new set of recipes, volumes 5 through 7. And I was feeling a bit more at ease. After doing 4 volumes and so many recipes and juggling it all, can I tell you about the time management skills that it took me to do all of this? After my experience with part 1, I was feeling a little more rested here. I wasn't stressing as hard. I also had more time. I feel like my part 2 experience was better because of that. The strawberry tart Najika makes as a warm-up for a competition. The strawberry tart. This was so good. I need to make this again. I talked about it in the last video. What a dream. A custard it was. You need to make this for yourself, and I'm not even kidding. S. Savoring the flavor. Savoring the flavor. The Castella that wins Najika round 2 of the confectionery competition. The Castella was a weird experience because I didn't make it correctly. In hindsight, there are things that I would have done differently. I cooked it for too long because it was not solidifying. In the end, it ended up being a very, like, almost a dry cake, which is ironic because it's sitting in a steamer with all that water. Unfortunately, because of that, just like texture reasons, not even taste wise, like the taste was fine. I have to put this in I'm sorry. I do want to give it another chance though. I'll have to dog ear that. The crepes, Sora makes Najika as an apology. The crepes. At this point, I've had my fair share of crepe making. Like, I don't even know what I would do if it appeared somewhere else and I'd have to encounter it again. But for all of that effort, it tasted really good. Unfortunately, it's going to go in B because I enjoyed it. When it should be D, not worth the effort. It's a B. The souffle ice cream Fujita-san makes for Najika. This was one of my first experiences making ice cream, and it was texturally not the ice cream that I really like. Like right now, I have some ice cream in the fridge that is like the creamiest, you know, the thickest. That is what we're talking about. The souffle ice cream was very airy, ice chippy, a little crunchy. It is my favorite flavor though, vanilla. So it did get points for that. However, it's an I wouldn't go through the trouble of making it again. The cupcakes from a bonus story. The cupcakes from that bonus story where Najika makes microwavable cupcakes for those kids who didn't deserve it. Well, yeah. It was for those kids who didn't deserve it. I kind of do want to revisit this one because I do think that it was just a matter of it cooking too long in your microwave. But you just have to know how long you should cook things in your own microwave, which is like, don't even get me started. Not worth it. Definitely not worth it. The tomato bruschetta Najika can't seem to taste following Sora's death. Ooh, the tomato bruschetta. That was one of the few savory meals from this section and from that video. I really liked the taste of these, except for the strong garlic. Wow. You really can't go wrong with tomatoes and bread and cheese too, but cheese wasn't in this recipe. So I will say that it was an A. I would eat it every day. The flan cake Najika makes at the 3rd round of the confectionery competition. You'll never guess what I had to make for this. Caramel is the bane of my existence. A lot of people commented on that video that they've had flan cake where the base flavor is chocolate cake rather than like the plain vanilla that was in the Kitchen Princess manga. I think that that sounds much better and is a different flavor profile introduced with the flan, because this one that I made was just like so whatever. I get the appeal and I get the like textural contrast and how cool it is. The one in the manga was just not it. Like, it was just a lot of effort for something that was so ordinary. I wish it had chocolate cake in it, and I don't even like chocolate cake, so for me to be wishing for that is something crazy. I will say it was but it was also not the effort, so somewhere between those two. The curry rolls Akane makes for Najika. Curry roll. The curry rolls are something that you could very well add into your weekly rotation. It was pretty easy to make. The ingredients were pretty simple. It was the first time that I'd made like a sushi roll, and I was really proud of the fact that I did it properly, and I definitely can see myself eating it again. So yeah, I will say I could eat it every day. The yogurt bread Najka makes for the family living in her old home. The yogurt bread, it was a really simple bread. You didn't have to use yeast. That was the whole point of it. And I think it's a really good staple to have as a breakfast food. It's very biscuit-esque. Something that you'd put jam on, butter on. For how easy it was to make, this is something that you could really add into your rotation. This is an A. I was really impressed with it. The new baked sweet potato mash at the Fujita Diner. Baked sweet potato mash was very simple. It had like 3 ingredients. I wish that I had used a Japanese sweet potato, and this is something that I didn't even think about until someone commented on my video saying, you know, it probably uses Japanese sweet potatoes. I was like, you know what? You're absolutely right. I don't even like these orange sweet potatoes that much, but this recipe probably asked for the Japanese ones, the ones that are lighter in color. I actually really like those. It would have been such a different outcome. I really should revisit this one because knowing that, I'm like, wow, my bad. But unfortunately, the ones that I made, they're gonna have to be like, because I didn't, they were just like, it was literally just like a sweet potato with butter. The Café au chocolat from A Bonus Story. Café au chocolat. This was really a sweet moment in the story, telling how Sora initially encountered Najika and how he watched her from afar. Probably my favorite bonus story from this whole series. It was a very simple coffee and chocolate recipe, really nothing to like write home about, but it was easy, and I love an easy recipe. So I will have to put it in the middle of like an it was okay. The fruit cocktails at Seiya Mizuno's party. The fruit cocktails from Seiya's welcome home party. Welcome home? I mean, welcome to the school? Whatever. Fruits and water, fruits and sparkling water. I don't like sparkling water. The fruits did most of the work. Duh. It was It was very refreshing, but it was just fruits and sparkling water. I'm not gonna make that again. The Madeleines from the competition between Najika and Seiya. Great tasting. It was a redemption arc for me because I could finally make the Madeleines without burning them, and they didn't disappoint. They were very tasty. I'll give them an A, because I would eat these every day. So good. The Neapolitan spaghetti Daichi makes for Najika. Oh, this was such a fluffy moment. I liked this moment, but the dish itself, I did enjoy it. I probably would have made it again if not for like, when you buy bacon, it comes in such a big pack, and this recipe only uses like 2 slices. So I don't want to keep making it, you know, it feels like I'm wasting food, and I don't eat bacon like that. So I did really enjoy this recipe. I wouldn't add it to my rotation. However, this was really good nonetheless. Really impressed by this one. I enjoyed. It was a B. Ooh, I don't even remember where the strawberry mille-feuille came from. Oh, Akane. The strawberry mille-feuille Akane makes to confess to Daichi with. It's a very sweet moment. The strawberry mille-feuille, don't even need to say it. This was so good. This was so good. It used the same crust as the peach pie. I don't know. There's something about that crust. So buttery, so good. I feel like I want to have more of the mille-feuille of the world. Give them to me. Give them to me. Savoring the flavor all the way. That was so good. The rare and baked cheesecakes Najika and Seiya bond over. I was so disappointed. I will never get over the disappointment of waiting, because I actually did this recipe last, waiting all those other recipes to do this and just not liking either of the outcomes. The rare cheesecake made my taste buds sad, definitely. And the baked cheesecake was because it was good, but it was nothing to write home about. One day I'll get my revenge. No, I'm just kidding. One day I'll have a cheesecake that I made that I really like, because cheesecake is my favorite. I need to right those wrongs. And finally, the last set of volumes I focused on were volumes 8 through 10, focusing on the final recipes and the finale of Kitchen Princess. And I have to admit, by the time I got to this last set of foods to make, I was much less concerned about camera angles and aesthetic shots. I was just trying to get it done. Enjoying myself while doing so was also the primary goal, but I was also just trying to get it done. And to do it all, I finally got to wear this apron that was gifted to me by a viewer named Eric. Yeah, I think we've peaked here. These are newer recipes not previously featured on my channel, so I do want to go into a little more depth with them. The strawberry banana jam appears when Najika agrees to participate in this high tea, a really fancy dinner, a lot of ambassadors and all of these important people who are coming to support the new cooking school at Seika Academy. So she's dabbling in jams and making things that would be nice and fitting for this event. What she doesn't know is that the director made it so that this is a competition between her and Seiya, and he wants her to lose on purpose. It's a mess. The director, aka Daichi and Sora's dad, is a mess. We'll get into it. But the strawberry jam came out a little bit watery because I think I got a little impatient as I was cooking it. But the recipe says for you to cook it for 20 minutes, and I had it for like over an hour. Like, it had to have been over an hour, and it still wasn't as thick as I've previously made jams. But the banana jam, oh, the smell was so good. I knew it was gonna taste good from the smell, and it was so good. It, like, wow. Yeah. Even though the strawberry jam came out a little bit more fluid, it was still good, so I will give it. And I enjoyed the banana jam. I would eat it every day if I could. It was that good. I also really like this chapter that it's featured in because Najika starts to recognize that she feels warm inside when she's with Daichi. Ooh, the developments. The tea and sandwiches appear in the chapter when Najika is going through a very big internal struggle. The director has basically blackmailed her into purposely losing for this upcoming high tea. The lavender house that Najika grew up in is being forced to close down. The director is saying, if you lose this competition, I will save the lavender house. It's really insane. It's really messy. But Najika had all these pre-planned hors d'oeuvres for this party on these sheets of paper. She's gonna burn them. Daichi saves them from the fire. It's very touching, but it's a very dark moment. But the tea and sandwiches were good. It was very simple because it was just sandwiches. The manga suggests that you make a variety of any of them, like you can choose basically. I chose to make cucumber jam sandwiches from the jam that I had made last chapter. How convenient. I also made the egg salad one, and this was one of the most enjoyable recipes from this third part. I even had the whole teapot, the green tea, just delectable, just enjoyable. So I will give the tea and sandwiches experience, and I would eat it every day because I would. It was light, it was fun. I understand why the rich people do this. The next two recipes, the milk tea flavored gelato and the pumpkin shortbread, actually don't appear within the story. However, they do kind of align with the two chapters they're representing, which is the high tea between Seiya and Najika. At this point, Daichi had asked Seiya a favor, and Seiya basically takes back the deed from the director, telling him that he wants to win this fair and square, because that's what I was thinking. I was like, you really think that your candidate can't win against Najika unless you force her to lose? Like, how does that make him feel? It was terrible. The high tea is a very interesting couple of chapters. I did really enjoy this part. But the milk tea flavored gelato, what was special for me was that I used strawberry chocolate tea because I was like, okay, if I'm making gelato, I'm gonna use a funky tea. What I regret is that part of the recipe tells you to continuously check on the gelato in the freezer to aerate it, basically give it that gelato texture. I had to leave. So like for 4 hours, I couldn't continuously check on it. And so what ended up happening is that it was much more ice chippy than I think it was supposed to be. But I can't really prove that because I don't know how it was supposed to be. You know what I mean? Like, I know what gelato is supposed to be in texture, but we're talking about these Kitchen Princess recipes where some of them are not correct. But anyway, it was still tasty. I did enjoy it, and I will give the milk tea flavored gelato a B, because I enjoyed. The pumpkin shortbread, however, we ran into another one of these problems that are presented within this translated manga where I don't think that there's enough flour. And so I had to add more. If I hadn't added more flour, we would have gone into another Christmas cookie situation, which I was trying to avoid. However, I don't know if I added too much, but the texture of these cookies was just weird. The flavor wasn't that sweet. Not that it really tasted bad at all. It was pretty good, but I wish that it had more of that shortbread taste, and maybe part of the reason why it came out that way texturally is because of the canned pumpkin that I used. The recipe did say to use frozen pumpkin. It was July. Like, I was not finding any frozen pumpkin. I just used canned pumpkin, which maybe could have made a difference. I don't think it would have made a difference. They were okay, but I don't know. Like, I don't think it was really worth the hassle that I went through. Pumpkin shortbread is going to land in between the and not worth the effort categories. I also really liked the high tea chapters because at this point, Najika's like, wait, why am I blushing when Daichi's patting my head? What are these feelings? So good, so good. The story of the soybean baci is a little bit convoluted because it appears at the end of the chapter. Seiya starts observing Najika because even though they both tied the high tea competition, he still feels like he lost because Najika got all of the attention and her recipes brought on conversation, and he starts to watch her, see how she works, see how much she pays attention to the feeling that food gives her customers, her patrons, so much so that he actually starts to develop his own crush on Najika. And unlike the Najika who is like blushing and can't look Daichi in the eye at this moment anymore, Seiya is much more forward with his feelings and gifts Najika some soybean flour baci, telling her that they should be together. It's kind of crazy, but oh, these were a different story. I really liked these. Not too strong of a flavor, but kind of like a cookie, similar to the chocolate macaroons and how you had to form them, and just like delicious. I really liked these. I really do actually want to make them again very soon, because I enjoyed them that much. Savoring the flavor, for sure, I liked those. The cinnamon rolls appear when Seiya makes them for Najika at the Fujita diner after she's kind of left there by Daichi, not because he wants to, but because his dad is purposely keeping him at this dinner at their house to please the higher ups who are there. His dad is a mess. I can't say it enough. But Najika really starts to feel like he might be her Flan prince because of the way that he's talking and the way that he's saying, when you make something good, you smile. So things are really starting to build up at this point. My experience with the cinnamon rolls, for some reason, when I first made these, they were so sticky. I've made bread before, focaccia, you know, like everyone did around 2020, but I have little expertise in making bread in general. So when this was sticky, I didn't know what to do. So I just continued making it. I was also able to use the big stand mixer that we have in our kitchen. Once I realized that kneading the dough would mean getting it all over my hands with that sticky texture, that was not happening. So luckily I had this tool, but it's only thanks to my mom. In any case, the taste was boring as hell. Like, I know they're on the thumbnail, but they really need some like icing or something. I did happen to make these a second time. I added a little bit more flour, just a little, like maybe like 2 tablespoons more flour, and it came out much better in texture. There was no stickiness. I don't know what happened that first time, but they were still bland. I even tried to add more sugar and more cinnamon, and it still didn't taste as doughy and gooey as the recipe in the manga said it was gonna be. I was like, where are you getting those words? Like, this is not. Anyway, I'm gonna say that the cinnamon rolls were an They were a C. The hot chocolate appears on the Valentine's Day chapter. Now that Najika thinks that Seiya is her Flan prince, she is making hot chocolate for the customers. Seiya's kind of pressuring her into giving it to him. And Najika feels like she has to, but thank God Akane is there to separate the two of them. She's so funny. Akane is also there to tell her that the only reason why Daichi has changed himself, done all of this work at school, become the person that his father wants him to be, is because of Najika. He is only doing this because this is how she is going to keep her spot in the school. Hearing this, she realizes, okay, I have to see him right now. Like, come on, girl. It's so sweet because she ends up giving him the hot chocolate, and in Japan, the tradition is that the women give their lover the chocolate on Valentine's Day, and she gives it to Daichi. It's so cute. Oh my gosh, I can't. Anyway, this recipe was very weird because it had 3 different options, which I keep forgetting. Like, I made 3 different hot drinks for this. I made the hot chocolate, I made hot banana milk, And then I made hot lemonade. Mind you, it's the middle of summer. It's so hot. Anyway, the hot chocolate was so good. It was so tasty. It even tasted good cold. The hot banana milk was weird. It was weird. Yeah, it was weird, but I didn't dislike it. The hot lemonade was way too sour. Like, I don't know, the ratio of honey, lemon, and water that they had me make was not appropriate. It felt like I was drinking something for like a sore throat. You know what I mean? And now we come on to the most anticipated recipe for me since the first video, and not for a reason that you might think. When I announced that I was this is so funny. When I announced that I was doing these videos, I think before I'd even started the recipes, someone commented on my announcement post, "Watch out for the banana bread." Like, I haven't, like, what's wrong? What's wrong with it? They said that the measurements are incorrect. So I knew that there was something up with the banana bread because of this commenter, kept it in the back of my mind, knew that at some point I was going to encounter the banana bread. And here we finally were. Time to tackle the insanity of these measurements. Savory or sweet? What meal would require you to put 2.5 tablespoons of salt into the mix? I've not made a single dinner, a single savory food item that required 2.5 tablespoons of salt. So why does the book tell you to use that much for banana bread? This has got to be the biggest error in this entire manga. I am very glad that this person commented this, because had this recipe been in like book 1, I probably would have just done it the way that it's written. Like, I'm gonna be honest, my instincts have started kicking in at this point. I probably would have just done the 2. That sounds weird, but I'll do it anyway because it's in the manga. Oh my gosh, that is a mess. Anyway, I thought that maybe the recipe called for 2.5 teaspoons of salt, but even then, as I was making it, I was just like, that just sounds like a lot still. So I just put in like a dash, like maybe 1 teaspoon, followed the rest of the recipe as it was. Actually, I think it might have called for more flour as well. I think I added more flour and I was so scared to taste it, but you know what? I nailed it. All of these recipes have led to this moment. I nailed the messed up recipe. Now, I feel like the texture still could have been a little bit better, and I don't know what was the cause of that. Could have been the banana, could have been some other element, but it was edible, and that's what I was happiest with. Yes. In any case, this chapter that it's featured in is sweet because it's when Najika is visiting Sora's grave to tell him that she now likes Daichi, and he's there to tell her that it's okay if it's Daichi. Oh, it's so... You shed a tear when you read this chapter. The chicken Joria appears in a pretty insane chapter. This is when the summer that Daichi and Sora spent in Hokkaido starts to unravel. I feel like the manga takes a turn at this point. We start to get a lot more background on their history and why things are the way that they are within their family. That summer in Hokkaido that Daichi can't seem to remember because the memory was kind of knocked out of him due to trauma. He actually watched his mother get crushed under the weight of these construction panels that fell on top of the both of them because Daichi was out in a dangerous place in the Hokkaido fields. Very devastating, a big turn, very unexpected. At first, I felt like this was kind of weird, but reading it a second time, I think that it all makes sense together. However, earlier that day, his mother makes them chicken Doria. And now we segue into the chicken Doria. I was skeptical of this one because why does it call for so much milk to be, oh my goodness, into this pot with just the rice? I was like, wait a second. My instincts started kicking in again. I was like, wait, this doesn't feel right. So I poured most of it, but not all of it. And I was just really concerned with how it would turn out in the oven, but it cooked through. It cooked through and it was more like a casserole, like a rice casserole. I was like, okay, maybe I should have looked up what chicken Doria is before I made this, but I was really amazed and it tasted good, pretty good. I will give it a B. I enjoyed. The vegetable potage chapter is crazy because it's such a moment for the weirdest thing I made probably this entire series. Daichi finds out the truth of what happened that summer in Hokkaido. He is locked in his room, not eating, not letting anyone visit. Meanwhile, his dad is worried about him, and he requests the help of Najika to get him to feel more like himself again, or at least to just start eating again. Najika, learning of the truth of what happened to Daichi, she just really cares about him and wants to see him happy again. She has all of these emotions, and she puts all of these emotions into this vegetable potage, climbs up the tree by his window, hands it off to him through the window while she's standing on a branch, and tells him that she loves him. They don't write romance like this anymore. I'm insane. Like, oh my god, the feeling of just seeing the page on the manga. I can't even talk. Seeing that manga panel, seeing that page, just so cathartic. Like, oh, I'm so happy. Meanwhile, the vegetable potage itself, baby food. I could not believe the color. I could not believe the texture. It tasted good, but I really couldn't get past those two things. I was thinking maybe if you put cheese on it, it could dress it up a little bit, but like, this is not something that I'm going to be making again. This was a one-time deal. With the star croutons, it was baby food. It didn't taste bad, but because of the other things mentioned, it is going to be not worth the effort. Pound cake appears in the bonus story of this volume. And one thing that I learned from this, which I guess I probably should have known already, is that pound cake is called pound cake because each ingredient is just 1 pound. Like, oh. And because of that, I feel like, I don't know, I think that it was very dense. It's so simple, but it's just a heavy cake. So it's not something that I would eat regularly. I like a lighter cake. And because of the equal parts sugar, I feel like it was very crystallized around the edges and on top, as well as the equal parts butter, making it oily on the bottom. But it tasted good. The bonus story is okay. It's about Fujita-san. There's like mild homophobia in my 2000s shoujo manga. I wasn't happy about that. The next one was the salt caramel. And Najika brings this to the director, Daichi's father, as he doesn't favor sweets, but he's gonna like this one because it has salt in it, and it gives this, first it's salt, then it's sweet kind of flavor. Very tasty. However, this is how many have I made at this point? 4th, 5th caramel, and hopefully my last. Like, I can't do it anymore. Things were going well. I was cooking it. Sure, it was taking as long as it does because it just takes a long time to make caramel, but things seemed to be going fine. But again, it was taking a long time. I had to go. I literally had to go because I had to work. So I had to leave. I didn't leave the stove on. Hold on. Don't think that that's what I'm talking about. I just had to turn the stove off and leave it as it was, go to work, come back later that night, and then continue the cooking process. But I think because of this like confusion and not knowing when I should take it off, the texture still wasn't what it said it should be, where it snaps in a glass of water. I didn't know how dark it should be, and by the time that it was starting to change color into something darker, it was just like 10 seconds too late. So the caramel that I made ended up having the slightest bitter taste, but it's bitter enough that it's not my type of caramel. Like, I would have wanted it to taste as sweet as it did 10 seconds before I took it off the stove. It seemed to be going so well, and it didn't, and I'm tired of it. I can't do it anymore. I'm done. It's not worth the effort. It would have tasted so good, but it's not worth the effort. And that's that. Meanwhile, Daichi has rejected Najika because he thinks that he can't be happy because Sora didn't get the chance that he wanted with Najika. Oh Daichi. The paella. Oh, I really liked this. The director awkwardly asks Daichi to have dinner with him so they can bond in a way that they haven't in years. It's such a sweet moment in this manga. One, because he doesn't really cook, and this is something that's very foreign, but he describes paella as being something that mixes all of the good and the bad in life and cooking it to make something delicious and something that you can share with family. Daichi eats it, enjoys it, and knows that this is Najika's recipe because of just how it tastes. He knows this is Najika's style. At which point, the director tells him that she really cares about him. She cares for his happiness. Daichi hearing this is like, I need to see her now! But it's too late because Najika's heading to Paris for the competition. But anyway, I made this paella twice because it was that good. I really loved it. The only thing is the recipe called for whole clams, and at this point in the supermarket, I was not going out of my way to look for this and that. I saw clam meat in the freezer aisle. I grabbed it. I was not looking for clam shells. I bought the squid rings. I was not going to buy a whole squid. I was just, let me just get this done. The saffron. Doing these videos, it just felt like every few weeks, Kitchen Princess was making me buy some seasoning, some spice that was $20. So I bought the damn saffron, okay? But I did make it twice, so this is something that is going into my rotation. It's a very good Spanish dish, and I was proud of how it came out, and yeah. I will say that it's going in my rotation. Oh my god, the cocktails. It's so insane because the cocktails is such simple desserts for such a momentous chapter. Seiya makes these virgin cocktails while they're in Paris because Najika's nervous and she's like, I would drink if I could. So he makes them the Cinderella, the Pink Princess, and the Snow White. He says that she's just like Cinderella, covered in ashes. She's not allowed to go to the ball, but then she finds her prince who will come and save her, and then she'll become a princess. And Najika's like, no, that's not like me. Castles, what the heck? Like dresses, what are you talking about? Then he says, then you are a kitchen princess. It's like, whoa, wait. Oh my god, title drop moment. These were very simple to make. I think about the Pink Princess every day. The only thing that's stopping me from making it again is the fact that I have to buy raspberries. Like, otherwise I would have had it again. The Snow White was pretty cool, actually. With like the mix of the apple juice and the grapefruit juice, it did remind me of a poison apple, very sour. The Cinderella was very simple, orange juice, pineapple juice. Like, who hasn't had both of those? In any case, you can't go wrong with it. I just think that it was a very good chapter and some nice complimentary recipes to go with it. The Snow White, I'd say I enjoyed. The Pink Princess, I would have every single day. And the Cinderella is also I enjoyed. The creme brulee is so loaded because we have to talk about everything that happens in between. At this point, Najika's returned to Hokkaido because Hajio sensei is really sick. She needs to go into surgery. She returns. The nurse tells her that everything went well with the surgery. Everything's okay. The person who was there taking care of her through the night went out back. And who does Najika see at the end of the rainbow? I'm gonna start crying. It's Daichi. Stop. Stop it. And all of these stories align with Sora having lied about being the Flan prince in the past because he wanted to protect Daichi's lost memories of how their mother died. Seiya not being Najika's Flan prince because he never rescued anyone from the lake out there. Najika asks him one more time, Daichi, did you rescue a girl from the water one summer when we were young in Hokkaido? Are you my Flan prince? And he says, yes, I am. I'm gonna start crying. Oh my god. This story's so sweet. What's so great about these chapters is that whenever the two of them are together or embracing or kissing, finally, the shot of the sky with the rainbow, but the sky representing Sora is always there. And it's like a dagger in the heart, and it makes me emotional, and I kept crying when I read this. If you haven't read Kitchen Princess, I don't know how you got this far into this video, but you need to read it. Najika makes creme brulee as the world's best dessert. Finally, for Daichi. It's wonderful how things have worked out. And I have to agree with Najika, creme brulee is the world's best dessert. I've only had creme brulee maybe 2 or 3 times in my life, but each time was like, yeah, this is some serious stuff. The only thing that really makes it different from Flan is the fact that it has heavy cream in it. Najika even calls it a French type of flan, and it's so good. This recipe was really good, even though I couldn't get the sugar to harden because my lighter was running out of fluid. It's still such a good dessert and truly deserving of that last spot in the manga. And so I have to say creme brulee is savor the flavor. S tier. However, that was not the last recipe because of course there's a bonus story. Black sesame pudding, and it's a little featurette with Seiya and Akane telling their epilogue. Their epilogue of a story where Akane has feelings for him and he's like in France and living it up and she's like, "You're so stupid, come back home, I obviously want to see you." It's very sweet. It's a very sweet story. I do like it. It's just funny that it ends on these two. The black sesame pudding itself required the use of black tahini, which is just black sesame paste. I had some leftover ground sesame from the Castella. I tried looking for black sesame paste in stores. It just is not anywhere near me. So I looked up a recipe of how to make it. It was just using honey. I was like, okay, awesome. So I made the pudding with this black sesame paste, with the gelatin, the whole shebang, and it tasted really good. The only thing is that it was pretty sweet because of that honey that made it a paste. So maybe if I made this again, I'd probably look up a different sesame paste recipe, but I think I also liked it more because it was so sweet. So not really sure. In any case, it was a fine dessert, and I guess a pretty good one to end on because it is very like unique and true to Kitchen Princess's overall combination of recipes. I can't believe I did that. I learned so much about myself through the making of this project. My instincts in the kitchen have improved. I made schedules for every video and recipe make. My time management skills have never been sharper. However, this is not something that I recommend anyone try to do. I mean, I paced myself really well and it never felt like I was just excessively making food. Everything was eaten except for the foods that were straight up nasty. But not every recipe is accurate in translation or measurements, which leads to things like the banana bread, like the Christmas cookies, like the pumpkin shortbread. I would recommend maybe trying the original Japanese language manga because I'm sure the messed up recipes turned out fine in their original context. But I'll never find out on my own. I'm putting this behind me. Making each recipe gave me a better understanding of the story and what each character was going through and dealing with on a much deeper level. It was so lovely to follow along with Najika's beautiful story and watch her fall but continue to find her strength so many times over. I literally feel like I've been living Kitchen Princess all summer. And now it's like I've picked my head back up and I'm looking around and I'm like, where am I? Let me know which recipe, if any at all, you plan on making. I personally think everyone needs to have a mille-feuille at least once in their life. I cannot get over it. It was so good. I'm probably going to go easy on the anime baking for a while so I can recuperate, but I'm following this with another big video soon that I'm sure some of you might know because I've talked about it a little bit in my socials. And I want to take this moment to thank all of the lovely people supporting me on Patreon, my magical corner residents, and my head witches in charge. Next video, I should have my new outro graphic, and these two tiers patrons' names will be displayed there more beautifully, more cozily. It's been a while in the making, but it's going to be so worth it. I'm so excited. So say goodbye to the Powerpuff Girls hearts. This might be the last video with them. You've served me so well. But anyway, that is all I have for now. I thank you for watching and I thank you for being here, and I will see you in my dreams. Bye, friends.